Hey guys, here's a time-lapse video from everything I did on week 4. I'll be changing my streaming times from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. Monday to Friday, and weekends I'm not too sure how consistent I can be, so I'll be doing that from time to time. I'll be adding progression updates as well as announcing when I'll be streaming on my Twitter. If anyone has any questions, just add them down below and I'll be sure to get to them. All links in the description. So this was the first monster sketch I started. Um, didn't really have much of a plan going into this one. I had an idea of the kind of feeling I wanted to get and um, a general direction, but I didn't have any process planned. And I think it really hurt the image in the long run because I kind of drew everything on the same layer and I wasted a lot of time erasing and going back over things and trying to make things work that way. And the process gets a lot better as I've continued with these, and this was fairly quick, but I think with the same amount of time, I'm able to produce a little better work, which is good. I didn't do too many studies for this from what I can remember, but I had a clear idea of how a wolf's face would look, and what I noticed was that the main difference between a wolf and like a dog is the fur patches on their cheeks. So yeah, I really tried to make that work in this. I'm not sure if I captured it leaning down with its front legs as well. Like I wanted to kind of bend like it was ready to attack or something like that. And as I was drawing it, then I was the direction I did it tearing the meat off, then I was like, "Ah, okay, maybe instead of having it attack, let's like having it in an attack position, let's just do that it's like ripping a piece of meat off the deer that it's eating." So yeah, as you can tell, yeah, I was kind of just playing around with everything and drawing everything on the same layer. Just this would be a process I would use if I didn't really care on the outcome, and that didn't really help. This this way of doing things, because you nothing's on a separate layer, you have to keep going over things, and um, you can't move things around because everything's on the same layer, so there's nothing behind it. Um, yeah, it just makes it's a hard way of getting to a very good finish, like successfully but efficiently. And when I started to have too much trouble with this, I think I called it quits. I was like, okay, this was a good experiment. Let's just move on to the next one. At this point in time, I wasn't sure what I was doing with the monsters for the project, so I kind of was thinking that it would be more of a sketch, like black and white. All of it would be black and white, and it would be quite small, like on whatever platform this will be launching on. So it would need to read quite well. So I was mainly focused on how it looked in the navigation, so like as a small thumbnail, and wasn't too worried about the anatomy of the wolf being off and stuff like that. And I didn't want it to have a clear border because I wanted it to kind of bleed to white or bleed to whatever at the time I was going to have these sketches on like a kind of parchment texture, and yeah, later I changed it to become more and more painterly and less away from this sketch idea I had, mainly because just feedback from friends and family was saying that it just looks a lot better when they have some color. It's easier to tell what's going on, especially from a thumbnail stage. And yeah, that's what I end up going with. I do like the strong silhouette and that kind of approach. As you see here now, I notice that it's harder. It's getting harder and harder to take this to more and more detail with adding changes. So I do put it in a separate layer. But if I started in the beginning with actually doing that, I wouldn't have had to waste time sectioning it out. Here I'm trying to make the forms work, but yeah. I was having a lot of issues with the muscles that are beside the wolf, like how the muscles attach to the body. And I wanted this pose, but yeah, it's proving a bit difficult. And where I did the tearing of the meat, it obscured the back foot or the hind leg, and I ended up just leaving it out and just hoping that it wasn't too noticeable. And yeah, this color stage was just to show people, yeah, like what was going on really. It wasn't meant to be any kind of detail or anything like that. That's why I kept everything so dark, because I wasn't going to use the color step. But that changes as things go about, and I'll probably have to revisit the first creature illustrations, or I don't know how to say the first creature sketches I did. I have to revisit them and bring them to a similar finish, but that'll be for later. I have so many of those monsters to do that who knows how everything's going to change as I go. Oh, that's odd. This one, I'm pretty sure I had a beginning sketch for this one, like how I established the initial sketch. Uh, oh, no, no, I lost now, remember. It's been a few weeks. I was doing it on stream and the OBS it crashed and I lost the initial video of me doing the beginning part of this. Here I was really focused on only doing like grouping the shadows and using it to silhouette the form, so not doing very much detail in the light and do focusing more on interesting brushwork in the light areas to add texture and form. And yeah, so this way it came out quite successful, I feel. This is one of the more successful line art ones I did. And this was right after looking at Frazetta sketches and stuff like that and seeing how he did it. So big influence there. I really like his ink drawings or sketches a lot more than his paintings. Um, and this is why it's the way he uses the shadows to um, the way he uses the shadows to he groups the shadows to show the form, and it's a very cool way of doing it. So, and that just didn't come out right. Oh well. But yeah, I liked how this one came out, and this had a good reception. Um, I tried to keep with what I learned from his work. I tried to keep that in the sketches going forward, but not referencing his work as much. And as it goes, you can see they kind of dip off, and I start to forget some of the principles he was using, and yeah, it has been fun going through these and doing studies before the sketches and really looking at other sources and learning and the speed in which I've done these, although it's not like super fast, um, it is fast enough to get through quite a bit, and it has been a very good amount of growth and development I've had through just doing these sketches. So yeah, really focused on a very simple lighting scheme for this, just light coming from the top left hand side and grouping the shadows to show the forms and trying to do something interesting with the marks that I made. One thing I did notice also with Frazetta's work is he does very interesting things with grass. Just it's a nice way of tapering to the edges of an image. Well, I don't know if tapering is the right word, but as it goes off to the edges, getting less and less marks. Grass is a nice way of doing that. I remember having a lot of trouble with the branches in the back. I think I went through so many iterations. And the nice thing about doing these forest scenes the whole time, I have got a lot more comfortable with doing interesting or simple branches. I think I spent just as much time on the branches as I did on the main character. I really like the graphical element of it's an easy way to have a nice flow to your image by adding these mist, these clouds, or like these um, s- smoke in the background. It it makes it an easy way to add a high contrast, well, like a higher value in the background to help with the contrast of the edge of the wolf, and it looks interesting as well. So you don't really have to put as much detail in it, and you can just play with brushes and stuff, and it's really cool. So yeah, you see here, I didn't like the direction, the flow of the branches, so I think yeah, this is my second attempt, and I don't know, I remember doing this tons of times, and yeah, yeah, I think yeah, this is the third attempt, and the one I liked the most. Not having such thick branches, just thinner and smaller, and yeah. So after finding something I liked, then yeah, I went with just detailing that out a little bit more, and yeah. So this, like I was saying before, I was spending so much time on the line work of these is because I thought this was going to be the final product. This is what I was gonna, what everyone else was gonna see. It was these sketches on parchment paper, and that's how I was gonna do the creatures and stuff of this project I'm doing. But yeah, almost everyone said color's better, like adding color and showing the form and stuff. So doing a more painterly look is probably a better approach. And it does look nicer. It looks a little more finished. Like you don't have to yeah, it looks there's more rendering in the focal point, so yeah, it looks more complete and but it takes longer. So that was the only issue. I was planning on doing a lot of these, so I was thinking the sketch way would probably be the easiest to that. But after the reception I got, then I decided to paint it instead. I did like the kind of cell shaded way this was looking, and then you could let the brushes show a little more because the contrast in certain areas was so high, like using so much black everywhere and focusing on just the shapes of the shadows. Like, I'm not sure. Like looking at this, I do quite like this look, so maybe I'll go back to this, or yeah, we'll have to see. There's a long road ahead, many years of me doing these, so yeah. So there's not really much to tell here. Yeah, I'm trying to get this, like, have interesting gradients and have interesting colors. Okay, then moving on to the next one. See, so it was quite quick. This one I feel was the biggest failure actually out of the three wolves. Now looking back, I can think of a few other ways um, I could have done this. I wanted it to be a mutant wolf and to this for this to be the highest level of wolves. But I had a lot of trouble with the face and yeah, I should have maybe added more mutations, like say in the legs or in the fur, change the silhouette, being more drastic with the changes I did in the silhouette instead of doing a dog with like three like faces melted into one and just leaving it at that, having like a very muscly dog body. Maybe I should have gone with a different route of making, say, the arms have like on the as it gets to the paw, maybe you have two paws, or do where the limbs are split open at the ends, or do where it's like extremely muscular, so it has muscle so much in certain areas that the hair is falling out and stuff like that. I think I could have, if I wasn't so focused on trying to get the sketch done quickly with whatever idea I had at the time, I could have maybe come up with a better idea. Like I'm not too unhappy with it. I do feel it's the most unsuccessful version, um, but I do think that I could have maybe came up with a better like process, like oh not process, a better idea if I just thought about it a little longer or stuck with the sketch phase a little longer. And that is something I'm having issues with all of them because I'm trying to get a sketch out of a sketch out of a sketch, and that's a nice way of um, my getting mileage out. And I have so much to do with this project that I need to do it in a quick way. Um, so hopefully things get better, but I do feel maybe sometimes I should take a step back and do maybe a few more preliminary sketches. Maybe that's something I'll try and implement, maybe not. We'll have to see. I did have fun kind of trying to figure out the jaw, like how the jaw would work if three mouths were mushed into one. I do think the two eyes together on its left, on our right, was unsuccessful. It kind of messed with the perspective. I should have maybe done two eyes, but like one drooped below it in shadow, and maybe done like another bunch of eyes and stuff like that, instead of going with two eyes in the center and one perfectly circular. Yeah, a lot of things to learn from in this final sketch. You would hope that after three wolf sketches, your last one would be the best. And um, yeah, it's sad that it wasn't. At the same time, I was kind of feeling fatigued of wolves, having done it for like a week and a tiny bit. Yeah, having done it for about a week, I was eager to move on to the others, knowing how many of these sketches I need to do. So I was eager to move on, and maybe that's why this also didn't turn out as good. Also, another problem I have when I'm having an issues or trying to salvage artwork, I redraw and redraw and redraw the certain areas, and I add a lot amount of detail and a lot of line work, or spend. I can't let go of it and move on, or try to think of just starting over and thinking of better shapes, something like that. I just keep drawing over the same part, trying to make it work, where it might be easier for me to just start over and look at uh, look to it for what it is, which was a good learning opportunity. But instead, yeah, I'll like force it and try and make it work. See, like this, I'm noticing the sketch isn't reading properly, and the mouth isn't reading. The shadows aren't grouped well. So this is third attempt already. Third attempt to the line work. Instead of just starting with a new sketch and moving on, I just keep going at the same sketch. And this one ended up being the longest and the least successful of the three. The first one being quite short. The second one was I feel the most successful, and either it was as long or shorter than the first sketch, and then this one taking the longest being, but not really working. I hope this is actually capturing the commentary I'm putting on this. With the previous video, that was my second attempt, and maybe people can tell because I was just breezing over things, not really, and trying to remember the conversations I had rather than just looking at what I'm doing and commenting on what I feel is interesting at the time. But this editing and making videos and stuff is hard sometimes. Things don't work out, and or you have issues and errors and mistakes. So yeah, I'm really focusing on making sure the shapes are reading, like that the shadows make sense, and grouping it in such a way that it's easy to tell what's going on. See, so I'm trying to make sure that where I'm putting the dark areas, it is actually helping. So grouping the shadows under the jaw line, making that quite dark, instead of making that blend in too much with the the mouth part. So yeah, trying to separate the shadow from under the top jaw and below the top jaw. that was a main issue I had with the first attempt at the fine line drawing. And this one is a lot more, I work a lot more in gradients, trying to show less brushwork and stuff. So yeah. And now that I'm paying more attention to where I'm putting the darkest darks and stuff, it I do feel it does start to read a little better. Some people that view the final might not understand it um, straight away, which is it sucks that I didn't do it like yeah, it just sucks that it didn't turn out as good. But this is definitely the better of the three sketches that I did for it. And it is easier working on top of like the previous one and stuff like that because you have to focus on less. So yeah, I'm trying to make sure that the lighting actually works. And at this point, with nothing else in it, I was starting to like it again. I feel that the jaw was kind of working a lot more and the teeth looked kind of ferocious. And yeah, I was starting to like it a bit more. And then as I went like to color, I was trying to do something different. A lot of the previous two were very blue background, uh, like blue and like green, like very natural, normal, cool lights. Oh, maybe that's not even accurate. I was trying to just go a different color scheme with this, is what I'm trying to say. And I feel it didn't really work well. I spent so long on this one. I think I spent the same time on this one that I did on the other two combined. I should have also thought about just more the planes of the rocks that he's standing on. You see, I go through and I change that quite a bit because I'm trying to do like interesting shapes that lead towards that have like a good flow. But I should have maybe just thought about the planes a little more and how it would have been how it would have been lit with um, the basic spotlight I was doing on him. Yeah, so I had a lot of issues with this. I go over it quite a few times. This is also where I really started thinking, oh, maybe I should actually just paint these instead of trying to do these interesting like kind of ink drawings of them. So much fiddling. No idea what I'm doing. I've been drawing for a while now, so I don't notice as, so sometimes you get stuck in just drawing and you don't notice that you're frustrated or you're having trouble, you're having trouble with something and you just keep working on it. I'm not sure if it's a good thing because it doesn't bother you if you're having trouble, or it doesn't bother me so much if I'm having issues with something, but maybe that would help if I notice, oh, I'm frustrated with this, and then I would stop, notice it, and take a step back and look at what I'm actually struggling with. But nowadays, when I'm having problems, I just keep working on it until it's done. And it's kind of like a mindless thing. And there is also the distraction of doing it on stream and trying to reply to comments and all that jazz. So yeah. See, I was trying to do like green smoke because the previous one I did like a cool pale smoke. This one I wanted like green. That's going to be interesting. But I couldn't really pull it off because I didn't understand how. Well, it didn't look right to me because it's obviously it's a very foreign thing to have a green smoke. And yeah, it just kept bothering me and I just slowly took it out more and more. I wanted the skin in the face to be like very pinky and show that some of the fur was missing. I think I should have gone a lot more with that in the rest of it as well, but I just stuck with this like really deep, thick coat that it had. This is way too bright. I wasn't seeing it at the time. I do go back and I fix it like right at the end, but yeah, the value for the light hitting the fur there is just way too bright, and I think I couldn't see that at the time because you see, like I add even a lighter highlight on it. Yeah, I couldn't see it at the time. Just everything was just blown out, and I was having trouble. The smoke was too bright, especially for being like a green smoke. I should have maybe done a bit more studies of wolves on, say, like cliffs and how the smoke or clouds would look. Like this, I think. Yeah, I was also having issues here, so I thought maybe like issues with it poking out the background. So I thought maybe a rim light would make it look more epic or something. But the way I did it, it looked really messy, and there were too many sharp edges. So it's getting very hard to make the form look right. Help with the contrast, I made the eyes, yeah, just like a milky white. So yeah, at this point, I was pretty unhappy with it. It wasn't looking right. I didn't notice that the fur was just too light. Here's like my third attempt at the background. Thought the trees and stuff would help a little more, place it so it doesn't look so like it's floating in air. So this is coming to a close. Not too much to talk about here. Just trying to make the new elements work and make it look interesting. The video is coming to end, and I hope these are helping and are at least entertaining to watch. I know I'm not going through and editing the audio, so there will be weird pauses or areas where I'm trying to uh, find out what I'm saying. And yeah, thanks everyone for yeah, just being patient with it, and it'll get better as I do more of this. Anyway, see you guys in the next video. Thank you.